Ross is
Well,
has
he
a
hooked
way
me.
of making you feel like you're the only actor in the world. You're
When
like,
you go fishing, man, I got hooked. I got hooked.
hello, everyone. Hola, mis amigos. You're listening to Oh My God, Hi, Hijo de Dios. Hola. With me, George Lopez. Porque, ¿sabes qué? Let's do the show. Porque I got a lot of things to do. I gotta go to that dry cleaner ahí. My kid fell. Se pegó la cabeza. I gotta go get some Neosporin Paul.
You know what George is?
Oh, I'm sure he's around here somewhere.
What's his name? George?
Lopez.
George Lopez.
Oh my God!
OMG.
OMG! Hi!
Oh my God, hi! You think if they made a flute out of skin that it would play? A real flute.
I think they can make
Not the one from Puffin Stuff. Not the one that talks. Another one.
I think they can make that work.
Do you know that every time I listen to the Puffin Stuff song, I play it,
Oh,
it make me start crying.
well, throws you back there.
That and Bryan's song. I think me and you, the poster for this show should be Bryan's song. Like, I'll be Gail Sayers and you be James Caan.
Right, and then the song plays and we start crying.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh,
Just like in the Hulk when he left town, and they used to play that sad song. Every time he went to a town, like my uncle, he'd get fucked up. Like my uncle would go to Silmar with a fucking bleeding eye, and I'd say, "Where were you?" And he would say, "Fuck Silmar," as if the whole town had kicked his ass. Only my uncle could come back with a fucking torn mouth, and he'd be like, "Fuck Fedco," like if the owner of Fedco kicked him in his face.
his clothes were all torn.
Even at Gemco, which everybody had a beautiful experience with, he didn't.
Who didn't have a beautiful experience at Gemco? That was one of my favorite places in the world.
I used to work at Fedco, and I'm a little bit removed, and there was this girl that was fucking hot, man.
At Fedco,
Little
worked there.
blonde
Who
girl,
worked there?
Fucking tetas out there, beautiful, fucking knobs, like trying to think KSJ, fucking radio knobs. Yeah, I think it even had numbers on her nipples.
And what
one
happened?
said MHS megahertz, and the other one said kg kilograms.
Did you make a
With a
move?
couple pelos. You ever seen that nipple that had hairs around it?
Yeah, those are
Under the sea.
those are shocking. When you find those are a little shocking. Hey, we got a little electrical problem here.
If you touch them both, you get a spark, marry her.
It'll start your engine.
I never thought I would get remarried, and then some girl told me one time, I don't have a gag reflex, and I got on one knee and I said, with this ring, IV wed, cabrón. All right, what's this show going to be about today?
It's going to be a faith-based show.
Good, because I have faith that by the time I finish this one, I'm going to be all vamos.
Okay.
Hey, what's that name of that girl that keeps calling Horseface? Not Horseface, Theo. Horse something.
Horvath.
Jeremy, ¿cómo va, vato? Rimmer?
We are, today's going to be a faith-based show.
If I saw my uncle in the
for real.
park a month after, I would say, what are you doing, Theo? He goes, what do you think I'm doing? Practicing that name, Horvath.
All on his park.
What's today?
Today is, we are with Edward
Are
James
you a
Olmos
religious
and Kathleen
individual or
Quinlan.
are you not? Would you grow up Catholic?
I did grow up
Your mom-
Catholic. My mother was a very strict Catholic. My father switched from Methodist to Catholic to marry my mom. Fernando.
Fucking dancing, huh?
Yeah. He switched over.
Doing the fucking jitterbug right there.
Right, he was great at the reception. Yeah. Unfortunately, he didn't
What's
start
your dad's
dancing.
waist? 24? Nobody has
My dad is a very thin waist.
Yeah.
I'm on about a
He looked like
32.
the dude from Wild Wild West. The little guy?
The little
James
dude.
Conrad?
Yeah, James Conrad.
Or the little midget?
Yeah, he was a little
you
guy.
can't say midget.
Mr.
The little dwarf. No, you can't say dwarf.
What was his
Little
character?
Ananito.
What's Conrad's character name? Was it Mr. Jones?
James West.
James West, and he said, "Mr. West," the little guy.
I like my character, Captain James T. Goodass. This should be my alias when I see the hotel.
So we'll be at a golf course, and there'll be a guy with really tight pants on, and he's showing his crack through there. And he's all, ladies and gentlemen, Captain James T. Goodass.
I would say,
Worth a good
I go,
laugh.
check out all the Captain James T. Goodass.
Yeah, I never escape it. Anyways, Edward James Olmos, excuse me, and Kathleen Quinlan on the show today. Amazing actors, and you
From the
acted
film
with
Walking with Her.
Walking with Her, co-starring George Lopez in this movie. So it's going to be quite a show to actually be able to talk to them about working with you.
If you think about faith and you think about, even just mentioning that, like right now when I think about faith, in San Fernando, when I was growing up in San Fernando, California, and I would go to the Comedy Store in Westwood. This is like June of 1979. And I wasn't very religious. My grandmother was, and my grandfather was not biological, I keep saying. And he would pray in the room. Like I would walk by, he'd be praying by the side of the bed, and he wouldn't go to church, and he would make me and my grandmother go, and I would say, how come you're not going? He goes, because I fucking pray here, and they go straight up. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. You need to go to the main office. Mine, I could do them here.
Yeah.
But you need to go talk to the personnel department.
He had a direct line. Yeah.
So, I don't think I ever told this story. So, as an 18-year-old young man, just out of high school, on Monday around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I would go to St. Ferdinand's Church in San Fernando. And I would sit toward the back of the church. There was nobody in there, maybe one lady or two, and I would get on my knees and I would pray that I would do well that night and that I would not be afraid to go up because you didn't know when you signed up, and that somehow God would bless me.
Wow.
And I did it every time. So once I do something once, like I have to do it and keep doing it. And in the middle of that summer, I go there and I'm on my knees and I'm praying. And I look down at the book and there's a paper sticking out of the book. And the paper pretty much says, if you believe in what you believe, that everything that you imagine can be accomplished.
Wow.
A written paper, not part of the books. It was sticking out of the book. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know who wrote it, or I don't know how it got there. But when I sat in that pew and I looked down, that paper was there.
That is crazy.
You know who wrote it? I wrote it. I thought you didn't read the back. That said, fucking put it in your pee hole.
God said that. So
but unbelievably to me, like I looked at it as an endorsement because I would have never going there. I went from, it didn't make me better or didn't make me worse, but somehow it just gave me, I'm not sure what it gave me.
It gave you the strength and confidence to get up there,
it's
right?
hard, man.
Yeah.
Like I was, grew up in San Fernando, a little Chicano kid, like just 18. Nobody was going to the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
And to go and do that, and then to have the balls to go up there when I was shy and couldn't even talk to anybody.
Yeah, crazy.
I was shy. I couldn't talk about it. If you leave me in the room with a magazine, a lot of my, even though Mexican magazine, a lot of my that would have all the car accidents in Mexico, and in the middle I had a centerfold, I would fire off, babe. There'll be a fucking 3-alarm fire right there in a hotel, people jumping out of the windows, and then in the middle they had a girl with tassels right there. I was like a wing.
No matter what the problem.
Right.
So was that a ritual of yours for a long, long time then? Obviously. Was it? I mean, you did that for how long?
Okay, yes. And then the day that we went to go pitch Stu Bloomberg at ABC for my first show, me and Bruce and Sandra and everybody, I went to Freddie Prinze's grave at Forest Lawn. And the meeting was at like 2, I went there like 10:30. And I don't know why I went there. I'd stolen the headstone years before.
And decades before
79,
that.
at least 24, 25 years earlier. But I went and I said that all I needed was the opportunity. Like, I don't know why I went there. It's like, why? You could just go to a fire hydrant. It means the same thing. But to me, it meant something to go there. And that wasn't even my church, St. Ferdinand's. I used to go to Santa Rosa. That's another one. Wow. And then across the street, the bakery is the bakery that we use for Chingon Bakery.
Chingon Bakery, yeah.
Right there across the street from St. Ferdinand's.
Yeah.
So I go there and I say, I'm so close, but I'm not there yet. I'm going to ABC at 2:00. I go Freddie Prinze's grave. I'm like, I just want a chance. We go there. Me, Bruce, Robert, Sandra Bullock comes in. She's dressed incredibly, almost like Well, I remember when she came out of the elevator, she turned the corner like in Miss Congeniality when she comes out of the airport,
Yeah.
airplane hangar, like that. I'm like, whoa. You know, like Sandra was all business. When we go to Stu Blumberg's office, I'm sitting on the couch and we're looking across his desk and he's sitting on the other side of the couch. So it's us here, chair there, he's there. And Stu Blumberg says, it's kind of dark in here, isn't it? Let me go open the window. And he opens the window and ABC is across the freeway, the 134 freeway, from Forest Lawn. So Stu Blumberg gets up, hits a button, and the curtains open.
Oh, my God.
And from where I'm sitting, I can see where Freddie Prinze is buried through the window at ABC.
Wow.
And, you know, he bought the show, and we went forward. But why would he open the window?
Right. And you recognize it right away going, oh,
The
yeah.
minute I was sitting there, and he opened and the blinds opened like this, and I could see through there, and I thought, I was just there 4 hours ago, literally begging for an opportunity to who, I don't know.
Wow.
And then it happens.
Do you still?
And then I burned myself in a kitchen fire. No, I didn't.
Do you still find yourself doing that though? Is that like the go-to? The move?
No.
No.
You know, I don't. You know, and it's interesting because, you know, of all the things that have happened, none you take for granted. Like, you know, I was on one up in HBO, you do like 4 of those and you do everything. But I wouldn't say that I'm more or less of a believer because I'm the Buddhist principles, but also to not do people harm. Like before, I would always do people harm. I always think awful things of people. But I'm not that person anymore. But I was when I was growing up.
But I mean,
When somebody would fucking die, I'd be like, finally. I'm the only person that fucking yelled out, finally. My mom died, finally, because my grandmother would yell that. I remember I went to see my grandmother one time, and she was in the Sierra Memorial Hospital right there up in kind of Lakeview Terrace, and there was a lady that kept yelling, God, take me. And my grandma was like, that fucking lady's talking that all night. And the next day she was gone. I said, what happened? And my grandma was, thank God he took her. She died overnight.
oh my God.
But that was I became a younger version of my grandmother.
Man, how about that?
On the show today. Can we stop all this fucking? By the way, the Alcohol Council has not.
Oh man,
given me I think they need to stamp these cans.
Man, you know what I mean? Lethal. They're serious.
You know how fucking bad this beer is? This bottle's upside down on the thing.
I'm gonna get that tattoo. So when you did this, oh my gosh, let me start over. When you filmed this movie with Edward James Olmos and Kathleen Quinlan,
it was the biggest part that I had ever done.
But in knowing it was a faith-based movie, did that make you feel like you more comfortable, less comfortable, same amount of comfortableness on set? Did you think?
I'm going to say that. Well, I'm not a trained actor per se, but I look at your life as experiences. Mm-hmm. You know, part of that movie was very emotional, where you can cry on camera. There's a couple of movies that I've done where you had to cry on cue. Not a lot of. I worked with an actress one time, and she went into the closet, and they put some like onion water drops in her eyes, and she starts crying.
Faked it.
I was able to cry without the use of that. A lot of times in movies, because of my background, I would just think of something that happened to me, and it would make me start crying. Like the day I got married.
Okay, that's the joke. That's the joke sequence that goes on. Well, can you share with everybody? Can you share what it was when you were crying when you cried in this movie? Can you share?
Motherfucker, listen.
What you're thinking?
Just because everything that goes through you tell everybody. Can we just keep some secrets about this movie? Then why see a movie if I'm not telling the whole plot?
I'm just thinking there is a scene you just shared with everybody that you cried.
What about if somebody saw Deep Throat? I already tells you that the lady's gonna probably take it all the way down to the pelos, eh? But are you gonna be the one that's gonna break our hearts and tell us that her clitoris is in her throat? I hope not.
Man, that'd be cool.
Let's let John Leslie be the judge of that. God rest his soul. A lot of pornos have died, eh?
Yeah, there's a
lot of
whole thing right
pornos
there.
¿Qué pasó, Teo? My other son, my uncle, was like, what's up, Teo? I'm just thinking about all the pornos I did. El John, ¿cómo se llama? John Home. ¿Cómo se llama? John Home. El otro que tenía el Whitney hasta allá. And that was your tía was saying that she went to high school with John Home, but she did it. And then La Lovelace, la cabrona that she could, whenever she chupó la verga, a bell would ring somewhere in the movie. In Philadelphia, the Liberty Bell. She took it all the way down, como hasta los pelos, and the Liberty Bell would ring. It had a ring since 1776.
Oh God!
And who else? Annette Jurgensen. That's not a name.
Jurgensen. The lotion girl. Oh, that's good. Okay, outstanding. Yeah, well, my thing was there something, not to give away the movie, but something you thought of that made you emotional?
You know, this time, no. This time it was the time that was very emotional. It was just out of the interaction with Mr. Olmos.
How about that? That's impressive.
No, I didn't need to remember something bad to do it. It was just because of, and really maybe for the first time, when you're so engulfed in a character that I didn't expect that to happen. It wasn't written for it to happen.
Wow.
But I think just out of my respect and my admiration for him.
Right. And he didn't expect it either, though. He was thrown a little bit. Not thrown, but he was somewhat surprised by it.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
He told me, if there's another riot, can we go out there and sweep the streets? I said, fuck you.
And there you go.
Remember in the riots in LA, he was out there sweeping the streets?
Yeah, I do. That's an iconic moment. Him doing that. I don't mean to be laughing. All right, enough of us two. Let's get on with Kathleen Quinlan and Edward James Olmos. Okay, let me try it again. Take two. Fantastic, George. Let's get on with Edward James Olmos.
You're the fucking worst.
Okay. Kathleen Quinlan and Edward James Olmos are waiting in the wings. Okay. All right. We shouldn't drink before that.
I'll tell you, man. I know we shouldn't drink before. They're not waiting in the wings, motherfucker. They're at their house. They're the wings. They're the fucking wings. They're not fucking Burbank.
Brought to you by Zoom. Today is Kathleen Quinlan and Edward J. Zumas.
Remember, this show is brought to you by the Horvath University.
Horvath. As your uncle called it.
Nature's candy.
As Theo says, horror face.
Schmegma. Remember, Theo, nature's candy. That's what my Theo told me. Schmegma was nature's candy.
All right. And on with the interview.
Who's doing the intro? Bryan? Bryan, you prepared?
I am prepared. I believe so. I think so.
Oh, shit.
Hi. Right. I'm ready to go.
I can't see your face, Bryan. You're not lit.
Yeah. Really? Oh, man.
Sorry.
That's okay.
You know what? You might be all right.
It'd be better that I'm shaded.
Better in the dark. Can I be in the dark?
Yeah.
You know, I never consider myself truly attractive, but Bryan.
Wait, can you tell who it is now?
That nose.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
That nose is simply decorations. You can't breathe out of it. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work, yeah.
It's really just decorative.
This is why I cannot ever enter the witness protection program anywhere, because I'll be found out in a second.
Hey, tell him that time you were at Disneyland with that girl. Check this out.
I went to Disneyland and I'm with a girl, and she's my dream girl. She went out with me. I could not believe that she was with me, and we're standing in one of those super 3-hour long lines in Disneyland that snakes around. And there's probably a 3-year-old in front of me in the arms of his father, and he looks at me and he goes, "Wow, you got a nose like a witch." And everybody heard it and they started laughing. So I still had 3 more hours to wait in line. So every time they passed me, they laughed at me for 3 hours straight because I had a nose exactly like a witch. And my little girl, you know, my girlfriend was just, she joined in with them and started laughing with them. So it made things even better. Greatest night of my life. Outside
3-year-old kid in his arms of his father. That guy's got a nose like a witch.
And the whole place blew up. They all started laughing. Okay. That's all right. Character. Built a lot of character that night.
Right. That's right.
But thank you for being here. My gosh, what an honor to have you on the podcast. And George, I don't know if you want to introduce your friends, or would you like me to throw my homage to them?
I want you to do it.
Okay, well, we have 2 Academy Award nominated actors in the house today. We'll start with
Miss Quinlan. She's in some of my favorite movies, and I don't know if you guys even American Graffiti, Lifeguard, Apollo 13, unbelievable. Academy nominated actress Kathleen Quinlan. Thank you so much for being here. And we have also
that's all she's done is 5 movies and all this.
No, she's done a gajillion movies, but those are my personal favorites. Lifeguard being my favorite, but she has been nominated for an Academy Award, and she is an amazing actress over I don't want to say how many decades, but 4 decades, 5 decades of work. Amazing actress. And we also have Mr. Olmos, Golden Globe winner, Academy Award nominee, and been in starred in Miami Vice, American Me.
Only Bryan could make you feel inferior when he's reading off your accomplishments. I don't know how the fuck I don't know how somebody has the gift of reading somebody's accomplishments, and when he's done, you feel like, what? I'm a failure.
Right. When us white people meet at the Eagles Club, we all talk about this, and this is what we learn. But Miami Vice, American Me, Stand and Deliver, Blade Runner, Mayans, as well as the upcoming Walking with Herb, of course, Mr. Edward James Olmos. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Bryan.
Honored.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
honored
you.
to have you here. And Mr. George Lopez is on his
Kathleen,
own.
I know what Eddie was doing when he was young, and I think he aspired to be an actor. I don't think that you aspire to be an actress. You have, I think when we talk, one of those stories that you think, somebody's at Schwab's or somebody's somewhere and they say, have you ever considered doing this? And you were doing something completely different. Would you want to share that with us?
If I can remember, yes. No, I was poking around to do all sorts of things. I thought I was studying to be a marine biologist, and
Oh, wow.
but then I found out that I couldn't finish the courses at the college I was at, and they said, "Oh, go to San Francisco State." I said, "I can't afford to go to San Francisco State. How am I going to do that?" And I didn't know there was such a thing as a scholarship. So I was doing a lot of sports, gymnastics, and 5-meter diving, and somebody said there was an audition for American Graffiti. And I took drama classes, but I didn't think you could make a living at it. I was really looking to make a living. And so somebody picked me out of all the people studying for my scuba diving license. And somebody picked me out in the hallway and asked me to come in this room with these guys, George Lucas and Gino Havens and Steven Spielberg. And I read a little thing and they said, "Well, come and do this part." I said, "Okay, well, I'm a live-in babysitter all summer on Catalina Island, but I'll come back when you're ready."
Wow.
Really how it started.
Wow.
That was it. I thought, wow, maybe I can get paid to do this. You never know.
But American Graffiti became kind of like the definitive movie of a person's youth.
Mm-hmm.
Did it feel like that when they were doing it? No.
No, it felt like the circus came to town. I was living up in Mill Valley next to Sausalito up there. It wasn't fancy then. And so all these movie stars came and they had trailers all over our high school. And I didn't recognize that era at all. That wasn't my era. My era was the young hippies smoking pot and, hanging out. So.
And then after, when did you come to Hollywood? But they say somebody goes to Hollywood. With a friend, by yourself?
I came by myself. The night before, I had some friends in LA, and so the night before, my mom wished she could have kept me till I was 19. I was 18. We drank a bunch of tequila. I took $50 of my clothes, and I moved down to LA, and I paid room and board at the Ortez's. The Ortez's, all the Latino people took care of me, not the white people.
Oh.
The Ortez's took care of me. The Orbillos took care of me. So I was lucky. yeah, I had a job. I was a waitress. Took about 3 months, and I said, well, that was fun, but I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah,
I got a job, so that was.
Go ahead.
How long was it till after you moved to Los Angeles that you started working actually after moving to Los Angeles?
Well, you have to be really naive.
Uh-huh.
So I made, my goal. In 3 months, I wanted to work, and in 1 year, I wanted to do a major part in a film. And in those days, that was little possible. And so I did a part in Emergency.
Of course, Johnny Gage.
Yeah.
Kids, yeah.
And I walked over barefoot for the meeting at Universal.
Wow.
It was a hot day. And then I did Lifeguard, with Dan Petrie and Sam Elliott and Ann Archer.
One of my favorite movies.
Within a year. Yeah, I had a great time. I swam in the ocean all day. So
Oh,
I
that's
thought
the greatest.
the perfect job.
Well done.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, you come down with $50, you're hungover from hanging out with your mom drinking tequila, and then the Mexicans take care of you, and then you meet Sam Elliott and Ann Archer, and you're in Lifeguard swimming in the ocean doing a movie.
Yeah, you go, how did this happen? How did this happen?
Oh, that's
right.
great. That is fantastic.
Did you ever by chance go to the Whiskey or the Roxy and see Edward James Olmos as the house band at the place where when you were the house band, you were destined for stardom? Eddie, tell everybody who were the house bands, and when you became the house band at Gazzari's or the Whiskey, you were destined for stardom.
That was an era that I'm so grateful that I had a chance to exist and understand. I started playing rock and roll in the garage, like most rock and rollers do, garage bands. And I was 14 years old, and we got our first break by playing for like 15 minutes on a weekend at the with the Preston Epps at Pandora's Box.
Oh, wow.
Pandora's Box was right in the little kind of island.
Cahuenga
and
Franklin.
No. It's the on Sunset Boulevard.
Right.
Okay. As you're coming over Laurel Canyon, it becomes Crescent Heights.
Right.
There's like that little island. That's where there's a little house. And we started playing there, and that was a lot of fun with the Preston Epps. They would play, and then we would play for like 10, 15 minutes. We were terrible. But, rock and roll in those days was a little bit different. It was a little more innocent. And, as long as you could play 3 chords, you could get through it. And I screamed. That's all I ever did. But it was good, and it was fun. And then I went over and started playing at Gazzari's on the Sunset Strip, and we started playing there for free. And we followed in Redbone.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Redbone was playing there.
Wow, man.
They played there for 9 straight months. And before them, it was Jim Morrison and the Doors that had been on that stage playing there for months and months and months. That's where they got their start. And then they moved over to the Whiskey, and then they went on to Pacific Ocean Park, POP, and then became the Doors, and they went screaming out. And same with Redbone. Redbone at that time was Pat and Lolly Vegas. They weren't known as Redbone. And but then they went off, and then we took over the stage. And Pat, when he left, he says, "You got to keep the stage for at least 9 months to beat our record, dude." I said, "Okay, I would love to be able to do that, man. If they'll give me a job here for 9 months, I'd be so happy." I spent 4 years, 7 nights a week.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Held the record until we handed it over to Van Halen.
Oh.
Van Halen took it for 4 years and 1 week.
Wow.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh.
They broke everybody's record, and it was wonderful. But that's I got started in rock and roll, and I was a terrible rock and roll singer. I sing flat, but when you're singing rock and roll, like I said before, you're singing on a PA system. They usually weren't really great, so you kind of like could hear the voice, but you really couldn't tone it down as to being it wasn't a studio recording in the studio. So, and I screamed and I danced. I was an entertainer. That's what I was. I was an entertainer, period. And so my entertainment got me into, when I went to college, when I was 17 years old, I took an acting class. I'm I think the only actor so far that's come out of East Los Angeles Community College, and it's been successful.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's really a tremendous understanding. But I went there and I started working as an actor, and along with my music, because I was going to school during the day, doing that stuff. Then at night I'd be playing at the Gazaris on the Strip. So from 64 to 68, that's what I did. And then in 68, I moved to the Factory, which I don't know. Kathleen, did you ever get a chance to see that place?
No.
You were too young. You wouldn't have seen that. It was 1968. It was owned by Paul Newman.
Wow.
Where
was it on?
It was
Sunset as well?
No. It was on Lapeer between Santa Monica and Melrose. There's a little street called Lapeer, and it was an old factory building, and they never touched the outside, and they would drive a car up. The Lamborghinis and all these expensive cars would drive up, and a guy would run out of a little door. Didn't even have a big door or anything. It had a little door with a light bulb that was hanging by the cord,
Nice.
just hanging there like that. He'd run out, jump in the car. The people would rush into the car, into the place, and the car would take off, and you wouldn't see it. There was a huge parking lot that was full of dirt, but they never used it. And so no one knew that this place was happening. They had tinted the windows black, so you couldn't see inside and you couldn't see light coming out. And you'd ride up an old storage elevator. You'd go up in an old storage elevator, really creepy and ugly and dirty, felt dirty just getting into it. And you'd go up, and as you're going up to this next floor, you'd start to see the unbelievable crystal chandeliers and the unbelievable wealth. This was one of the most exclusive nightclubs in the world at that time. And I performed there for 2 years straight. And I performed for Judy Garland, for the Stones, the Beatles, all of these great performers would come there, because it cost you a lot of money to be able to get in. You had to really pay a lot of money to be a member. I mean, a lot of money. So people who were there were very, very wealthy. And we played there for a few years. And I was honestly, by using music and movement and theater, when I got Zoot Suit, the play, which was all of those things, it was music, it was theater, it was, dancing and singing, and it was all of those things put together. Like they say, I was lucky, and lucky to me is when you're prepared for the opportunity. That's luck.
Okay, so you have a musical background.
Yeah.
You were also very athletic. You were quite a baseball player.
Yeah, I was.
And then you were an actor.
Yeah.
Now you could, we could be honest, or you could tell me what I think you want me to tell. But if of those three, which would you have done at that particular time? Because I know you love music and I know you love baseball and then acting, but it's all giving you joy. You're very good at what you've done. I mean,
you get to the point where you just are fortunate that you were given the opportunity to understand it. And I understood it. I really did. I helped produce my music, my records. I helped write my music. Then I went on to produce theater and write plays and work in off LA theater, which is really far off of Broadway.
Right.
And then went on to excel to the point of where I went on Broadway. I got into Broadway in 1978. The very first major piece of work that has ever been on the Latino culture in the history of theater, and it was on Broadway, and I won the Tony nomination, and it was an amazing experience doing El Pachuco. But of all of those, I mean, I was playing baseball at the age of 13 and 14. I was catching like Eddie Roebuck, and I was playing in the single A ball, and it was the winter league for pros. That's where I was playing already. And I was a little kid. I wasn't really built at all. I wasn't, but the thing is that they were grooming me, and they saw that I was there, and that I knew how to play the game, and I played it very, very well. And I was a very good hitter in my league. I won the California Golden State batting championship for 2 years in a row. I was batting over 400. You know, it was like amazing. I mean, like you're sitting, whoa. So everybody thought I was going to be a ball player, and so did my dad. And then I heard rock and roll. 1956, 57, man, rock and roll started coming in. And by 1960, I was, whoa, man, I started singing with my next door neighbor who played guitar. He played guitar. This is before the Stones, this is before the Beatles, and before any of those. We were listening to, Richie Valens and Buddy Holly, and we were listening to, Little Richard, all of those players, and playing our little music and stuff in the garage. And that's how music got involved. And I stopped playing baseball. And everybody freaked out. My father freaked out. Everybody. I mean, I was playing with Bobby Knopp and Gary Knopp. The Knopp brothers were playing. Bobby Knopp went off to become the manager or the coach of the Angels for 10 years. And with George Pena and all these great, Rick Fenton was the one who was carrying me and teaching me how to play. Him and Tony Parra. And they brought me through. And when I stopped, they really got hurt. They all got hurt, and that really was a big change. Hey man, I want to sing rock and roll. Oh my God, are you kidding? You're a ball player. What's wrong with you? And so I got in with the discipline, determination, and perseverance and patience that I had learned playing baseball, because I couldn't play baseball when I started. I couldn't even catch a ball, but I disciplined myself to do the things I loved to do when I didn't feel like doing them. And I did it 7 days a week, like musicians play music. They do it 7 days a week. You don't mess around. You do it every day. People say, you can't do something every day. I say, how many of you brush your teeth every day? You brush them every day. You don't even like it, but you do it anyway. So that being said, I used that, which I'd learned, the discipline, determination, perseverance, and patience. And I just got into music and used the same thing. And I did 7 days a week. And pretty soon I was really the best that I could be. Not better than anybody else. I wasn't better than anybody else. I was lucky that I was able to just feel comfortable standing up on the stage. That's why I took acting classes, to learn how to be a performer up on stage. And singing rock and roll. And then when Zoot Suit came along, man, it just shot right through the roof. And I'm not kidding you. From Zoot Suit on out, I had total creative control of my character from that moment on. To this moment, to this day, I control the characters that I perform in. And that was the biggest change in my life. Now, you asked me which one of the three. I watch baseball every day. I watch every game the Dodgers play, man. I watch every single, I missed one game during the preseason. And, tonight we're going to win tonight, the A's. And, so we'll see. Anyway. Well, you and I and Kathleen,
but that's an interesting
great time.
We had a great time watching the.
You're great. You're a great athlete. Okay, George. People don't even know it. You're a great athlete, not a good one, a great one. You yourself saying, "Come on, Eddie." No.
Well, as you get older, you start to realize that you weren't as talented. I never did well with women. Like I can understand that, because if they're not around you, it's easy to tell that you're not very good.
Hey, and look at mine. They're all over me.
And I think that's part of the bravado of like, oh yeah, she's lucky. Yeah, they were lucky I left them alone. But as I got older, I started to realize, like, I remember one time I made a big deal when I was 15 because I didn't make it to the All-Star team, and I thought I should have. And then now I realized I sucked. I was like just being this pain in the ass kid. Like, hey, how come I didn't make it? I was awful. So in hindsight, you look back in hindsight and you go, okay, I mean, some athletic ability, but not as much as I thought. I think I had enough, that God had given me enough athletic ability to make friends that I was going to end up keeping a long time because of baseball. A lot of those guys I'm still friends with 40 years later. And I think taking them to the games and all that stuff is a really nice thing, because you grow up, when you're in high school, all 5 guys in the car and you're going to the games and all this stuff. And then later on, you're able to take those guys on the field and meet some of the players is really nice. I still was very affected by all of that, like meeting your heroes. Who did you meet, Kathleen, when you came to Hollywood that you thought, wow, that's so-and-so? Anybody? I mean, I'm sure you.
It wasn't Let me think. It wasn't so much, I wasn't very celebrity in awe of, sort of, but I do remember I met Olivia de Havilland.
Woo. Wow.
And I went,
Oh.
wow, now there's a real woman, a real lady. And she was very exciting. I got more excited when I met Captain James Lovell.
Oh,
who,
wow.
You know, headed up the actual Apollo 13 mission. I mean, to me, that was like, and then when I met, oh my God, you're going to kill me. I'll think of them. But so that was very exciting. And I also remember when I was frustrated early on as an actor, you know, because I wasn't used to not working consistently. And I wrote a letter to Jacques Cousteau.
Oh.
And I said, I'll work in the kitchen. I'll do whatever you want. Just, can I come work for you? I didn't get an answer, but.
Wow.
Was there ever a time though, I mean, you had a great acting career, of course. Was there ever a time that you regretted leaving marine biology behind?
No, not so much. Yeah, not really marine biology so much, because sadly, I see what we do to the ocean, and I knew it was going to be really painful to watch, and it is. But I did. It was hard to leave athletics. Athletics is my number one. That's what I love the most. But in those days, you could not do anything like a commercial or any kind of promotion. You would lose your amateur status, and then you couldn't compete. So I can't make any money doing this, you know.
Yeah.
So I decided I'd just keep it as my first love, and you know.
Well,
I gotta tell you, Kathleen, you're gonna really just like go nuts. During Miami Vice in Miami in 1984, when we started there, Jacques Cousteau would park the Calypso in Miami to get it serviced, and he would invite me over,
and invited you on.
We used to have lunch and dinner there, and they would be working on their boats and stuff, you know, cleaning it and everything.
Right.
And I would bring I brought HBO, I think. No, what was it? Some kind of a signal for them to be able to watch cable.
Oh my God.
The Calypso.
Yeah, it was beautiful, man.
What was Jacques Cousteau like?
Beautiful
off
man.
Camera, great
beautiful
guy.
man. But his son was amazing too.
That's what I
heard. They all were.
Philippe,
Great
right?
family. Yeah, Philippe passed, but you know it's very difficult. You know.
Now, when I remember Jacques Cousteau, did he used to send Philippe on all the shit that was too tough for him to do? Like, Philippe is going to go to the bottom of the ocean with no apparatus. He's going to hold his breath. He's going to go down and release air on the way up. I was like, how come? Hey, tell it, it's like any father. Philippe, go down there.
Right? Jacques had the iron lungs, and Philippe had just a snorkel, and he had to go down there and deal with it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, you know, he was quite an experienced. Jacques was an experienced.
I think that would have made Kathleen very happy. Kathleen very happy to spend her time on the Calypso, diving and just all of the things that he found and all the things that he was about.
Right.
Great man.
Yeah, I'm going to do a film with Chris McDonald, and he's going to play a captain, and I'm going to be a dock rat. I call them dock rats, but I work on the dock filling up people's boats, kind of thing. So type casting will be fun.
Do you need somebody to clean the bottom of the boats?
No, I can do that.
A mask?
Thank you.
That's right. Barnacle scraper.
What brought? I know the barnacle. What brought us all to Walking with Herb?
Woo.
I know it's not our faith. It's been very well received, by the way.
Has it
by
really?
People. Yes, absolutely. The reviews are very good, and people are excited about the film coming out, and especially after this year. You know, we could talk about what's faith-based, because I said every movie would be faith-based, because it's always you start someplace and you wind up in a better place in the end. or if you don't, it's still a journey. And along that journey, something has to be tested, and it's usually someone's faith that's tested.
You know, I gotta say that you asked the question, what got us involved? What got me involved was that I got a phone call from Ross, the director, producer, son-in-law of Mark Medoff, the great, writer and storyteller. And he says, Mark has written a script for you, for you. I took a deep breath. I said, whoa, that's a strange call to get. I never have had a call like that. In all my years of doing this work, have I ever had anybody call up and say, we wrote this for you? Well, okay. So I
think, Rob, listen, can I stop you? I think Ross is like that, though. I think if Ross went to McDonald's and somebody helped him, and the manager, he'd say, listen, we wrote this script for you. He's like, I'm a manager at McDonald's.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's Ross's
forte.
You know what? I even hate to say this because it's Ross, but I think that's his move. You know how these dudes have moves, man. I think. But I get it. But I think Ross has a way of making you feel like you're the only actor in the world.
When you go fishing, man, I got hooked. I got hooked by the name Mark Medoff. I got hooked.
That's true.
That caught me, and I said I didn't give a shit what he was saying, how he was saying it. I did like I said, Zoot Suit, and we did Zoot Suit right at the same time that they were doing Children of a Lesser God at the Mark Taper Forum, and so I had met him, and super intellectual, super energetic, and very, very disciplined. I mean, very kind of. Never smiled. I didn't see him. Hi, hey, how you doing? No, he's always really him and Gordon Davidson. So when they told me that he had wanted me to read his script, I said, "Great, send it to me." I didn't freak out and say, "Oh my God," no. But I said, "Okay, send it to me. I'd like to read it." So I read it, and man, it was like War and Peace. It was like this long script with so many words. I mean, it was just really written. All of it worked. It all worked. But it was just man. I mean, there was soliloquies in there that would, they would rival Shakespeare, because it was so intellectually profound in the way he wrote. And so anyway, I read it, and I said, I told Ross that, that the script had to be worked on, that it was a brilliant story, but it was just not a movie. It was written like a movie, but it wasn't a movie. It was almost like a play.
True.
Just a long, beautiful. I mean, you could see the scenes lasting forever, like you do in a play. So anyway, that's what got me started there. It was a story one written by Mark Medoff, and the rest was history.
We sat and did the table read, and Eddie says, "I gotta be out of here at 7 p.m." I go, "It's 1:30. We'll be out here by 7." We started at 2:00, and by 7, Eddie's like, "I'm leaving." We weren't done reading the script 5 hours later. And Eddie's like, "Listen, I'm sorry, man, but I gotta go. There's still like 30 pages. I gotta go." And then he looks at me before he leaves and goes, "Half of this shit's not going to be in there if we do this," because there was so much. Like, there's no way that we could ever have shot all of that.
We shot a lot of it. We ended up editing a lot of it. I helped edit it, and we edited a lot of our stuff down. You saw it. You know what we did and what we didn't make it to the screen.
Right.
And I often told him, I said, you got to put the camera where the story is, and you got to have the story moving itself. Don't pontificate on Mark's words. Let the story emerge through the actors, and the silent moments are the best. And that's what made Kathleen just like scream. She stole the show. I mean, we're out here talking and all this, and she's standing there, just looking.
Wonderful.
Kathleen goes, "Get out of here." No, it's true. Look at the movie.
And
you look at the movie, Kathleen, and you tell me the silent moments. Okay.
You guys have a wonderful relationship. And then you and Kathleen had done something before together, right? A movie that you directed, I think, Eddie.
Yeah, we did.
Eddie directed The Devil Has a Name.
Yeah, and I asked Kathleen to come and help me, and she did. I was very grateful for that one too. It was really, it's a wonderful story, and it's good. It was a good time. We had a great time, and then when I asked her to come and join us to do this one, she goes, "Come over to my house, sit down outside. I want to read the script, but I don't want to read it without you being there. I want to read it with you." I go, "Okay, we'll read it together."
That's great.
So we did. Yeah.
Well, I know you had worked with Kathleen before, and you had known George before, but you had never worked with him, right, before this. So a lot of times, like when you know somebody, I'm guessing when you work with them, your relationship has an opportunity to change a little bit. Did you feel like it did or didn't, or was it just like working with your buddy on the film?
This became a love affair on all levels. Everything that I'd ever dreamed about. It was the ultimate moments I've had in making a film. First of all, the story was a really sweet story. I mean, people, I guess, I don't know what I've been isolated, so I don't really know everything that maybe George knows, but I'm glad that the people are liking it, you know? And as far as it being a faith-based, yeah, it's got faith in it, yes, and it's got a sense of, second chance. That's really what the movie's about. It's about second chances, and us being able to have the faith in ourselves, not in God and somebody else. It's about having faith in oneself that makes you live and try to understand yourself to the fullest. So that theme is magnificent. And then working with Kathleen and George, like a blessing.
Kathleen, when you and Eddie as a couple and the movie starts, and he's not, you as a family have suffered loss, but in a relationship, if one person like this, you kept your faith and you kept the family up, but in a relationship, if someone can't see because of the pain, I think that might bring both people down, that the pain is stronger than somebody's belief in someone else.
Yeah, right.
And in this, you didn't give up on him, and you saw him smile, and you saw him start to rebuild himself.
Well, I would say that Sheila didn't give up on him, because Sheila was a different person than me. She has more faith. She's a little purer. She's has a little more strength in that department than I do. Yeah, so it was fun to explore that. And just to backtrack a little, when Eddie actually came out to the house with Alex, and he asked me if I would do it after we were kind of done playing around with some of the scenes. And I said yes, because it's Edward James Olmos. What am I going to do? Say no? I mean, it was lucky for me to be able to work with him and to work with Mark Medoff. I'd worked with Mark before. So it just seemed a little too fortuitous, and I had to take the leap. So.
And was there a favorite part when you're going over the script together? Was there a something when you were reading the script that clicked and made you say, yeah, I'm in? Or was it just working with the people you're working with?
Yeah, there's this really kind of, could have been this really cheesy moment in the script. And I decided to kind of cut against it and just talk to him like I would talk to him. Mm-hmm. And he was, yeah, you could do that, or you could say that God's saying this. And Eddie he's an actor who's just right there. Like you're not gonna throw him any sliders that he's not gonna see. You know what I mean? So there's a safety there, and there's a freedom. as an actor, and that doesn't always happen. I've worked with two other, I won't say who, leading men, where they say, okay, you're up tomorrow, and you're supposed to act like you've been married for 30 years, and go. I said, wait a minute, I don't even know what this guy likes to eat for dinner. How am I going to act like I've known him for 30 years? So I have had to request just a lunch or just a meeting, just a something where I can kind of see if I can find a connection, because I don't like that playing the wife thing. You know, if there is something really going on there, I'm not interested. Yeah.
How about you,
Yeah.
George?
I think that's
George.
very true. Well, it is the largest bit of acting that I had done, and interestingly enough, I wasn't afraid of it. You know, when I did that movie about the robotics team, and I wanted to produce it, but I didn't want to be in it. And then they said that they wouldn't do it unless I was in it, and it was a lot. These guys were younger guys, and in the beginning, they were acting like younger guys, and I had to do something that wasn't really, you know, good for all of us. I had to say, listen, man, I don't give a fuck what you guys do when you're away, but singing songs in between takes and playing trivia in between takes is not, we can't do that. Like, we have to take this work, we have to take serious. And they really weren't there. And I did that early enough that it got them there. And because I was like, I'm not gonna sit here while you guys are playing Frank Sinatra trivia and expect our performances to be worth seeing. But this one was different. And I rehearsed on some, but not the way Eddie wanted to rehearse this. And I wasn't into going every day, all day for a month, just because of my own, as a stand-up, you don't have to do that. In TV, you don't have to do that. But this was a real film, and it could not have worked any other way, because whatever insecurities I had, or whatever thinking that this was a huge part, and I had to play this guy Herb that was all of these different things, being with Eddie all those days, and then meeting you, and then us reading it, and then us all getting along really well, protected me from, I would say, my instincts were good, protected me from talking myself out of a good performance. I was prepared, where usually I would have maybe not have dug as deep. But the fact that you made me do that, I don't think I'll work any other way now going forward. That really got us together and made us stay together. And I think that's why the ending is so emotional, because, you know, meeting him in 1988 and then doing this, and then us all becoming in love with each other. And then he says, is this it? I think Herb knows that he's probably going on somewhere else, because mission was accomplished. He finally was able to pass through. So when he says, is this it? And then our moment there with the tear, and then our moment together was just really almost a graduation from stand-up to TV guy to being in a movie with the writer and the actors all of Academy Award nominee and caliber. So, and I'm glad it was toward the end, because I needed to earn all of those things. I remember Kathleen coming in going, hey, the police want to talk to you. And I wasn't, you know, shocked. I was like, yeah, where are they? And she said, came in and I said, what's up? And she hadn't come in my trailer, you know, the police, they're on to you. I, what? Where are they? She came in to warn me, the police are here, they want to talk to you.
No, but you really delivered. You delivered. I mean, that's a pretty ballsy part to take on. I mean,
You know, I said it in some of the interviews that I've done on national stuff, that and I told him, I said, please don't tell him, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're a great athlete. And what I mean by that is that you really commit yourself to whatever you're doing in form of athleticism. And you can see that in your golf. Your golf game is really good. You're as good as the pros. You could have been a pro if you wanted to. And you chose to continue to use it, but you play it so well. Well, when you were done with this movie, George, you're a better actor than you are a golfer. And you're a hell of a golfer, George. And I was so happy because it was hard for me. It was hard for me to say, okay, George is going to try to do this, and I hope that George doesn't bring George. Because if George comes, then George is going to be playing Herb. And that is not Herb. We need Herb. We don't need George. We need Herb. And so, and he did it. I remember rehearsing, and when we started rehearsal, he did. And when we started rehearsals in this room, and my assistant would be reading all the other parts, and we'd be reading the story, and then Ross was there, and it was just Ross, my assistant, and George and myself, and we'd be standing there going through the pieces. All of a sudden, like about the second or third time we did this one scene, it locked in such a way that I looked at him and I said, "You son of a bitch. Yeah. You did it, man. I remember telling you that. Do you remember when I said that? I said, this is amazing, George. I'm very, very excited. I can't tell you, man. You just went through the roof, man." And that's one of the great things, because people they're gonna laugh. We're fun. We stay fun. We're still up and going around. We have a great time. But the truth of the situation was so pure and so beautiful. That's what happened with Kathleen and me. We hit it, and boy, we went there and we loved each other. And it was just gorgeous, gorgeous moments of understanding with umpteen years of being together. I mean, you could feel how much we loved each other, and how much we could play with each other, and how much, we cared about each other. And through the only thing I can ever say to anybody that's listening to this right now is, may you bury your parents, and may your children bury you, and may their children bury them, and may that chain never be broken, because if it's broken, you're going to not live a life that you thought you were going to live. I don't care how good you are as a person. You're ruined. Your life is completely off kilter. And that's what the story starts off with. People don't know what the story is, but I got to tell you, it starts, I'll give you the beginning, and that'll be the only time we're really going to make it, possible for you to understand something. Because basically, when we start this movie off, we start off with a burying of, Sheila, Kathleen, my wife, and myself, and my daughter, Jessica Medoff, who's Mark Medoff's daughter, and she played Audrey Amagliamo. And we're standing at a funeral for our 3-year-old granddaughter, my granddaughter, her daughter, and I am over. No more. I am done. I don't want to hear none of this shit that they're saying at the funeral site. I can't take it. And I've lost all my faith. And of course, Sheila is just holding on, man, and just saying, "Come on, man, cut it out, stop it." And my daughter saying, "Keep the faith." And I said, "I have no faith. What are you talking about? Faith?" We're burying my granddaughter next to her father, who was a doctor who got killed in the war as a doctor before the baby was born. And no, I take that back. He was alive. He did get to see the baby. He was alive. We have photographs with him and the baby. And he ends up dying. And then we're burying the baby. There's a coffin, man. That's how the movie starts. And what happens? Up rides Herb. And I don't see him. He sees us, but we don't see him. Upright Herb, and Herb looks unbelievably weird. And he's real.
I will tell you this. the amount of takes that pastor needed to take. And she was reading it out of her book. I thought that was going to be 4 dead bodies. Me, you, and Kathleen, and the little one right there. You're just like, is this? And then we went to the church and did it. You're like, are we all, she could read it out of the, oh. Remember we all were looking at each other like, we're standing there, very peaceful. I'm all in white. I'm looking at you guys. You're like.
Yeah, no, Bob Lambert took care of that.
Yeah.
Bob Lambert's amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful job,
Bob Lambert's amazing. Great editor.
Great editor.
And in these things, I remember I've said it on this thing before, like I used to look at my grandmother when I was a teenager, and my grandfather wasn't biological, my grandmother was. And I would look at her and think, if anything happened to this woman with me still growing up, becoming a man, I don't think that I would have survived losing my grandmother. I know I wouldn't have. Mm. And fortunately, she didn't pass when I was a young teenager, but I wasn't surrounded by people that would have made me feel better with that loss. So thankfully, I never had to experience that, even though she wasn't particularly kind to me, but that was just a result of her own life. You can't, teach somebody. But thankfully that when people, suffer loss, that we have to keep going for the people that are around us. But I think it's the hardest thing to ever do when you get older and all your friends go, like Bryan. Mm-hmm. This dude is the fucking Grim Reaper. Everybody that guy comes in contact with passes.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Sorry, guys. That's why we did this on Zoom. We did this on Zoom today for a reason.
Right, Bryan. Like a lot of. But what do you think that is?
I don't know.
You guys all live near Dow Corning or fucking around the cul-de-sac?
I don't know. I lost a couple of my very good friends, best friends from high school in their 50s, and then my wife just. I mean, it's every year. It's been a lot of people. So it's one of those things where you appreciate. But my question to you is that it's a faith-based movie. And you're professional actors. You've been doing it for many years. But is there something that you take from a movie like doing this for months on end? Do you take some of that with you? Do you feel a little bit more faithful when you leave the set off the last day, or is it just kind of like you just live your life? Because I know you're on your own person, but does some of that ever sink in? Because Kathleen, your character is very, very faithful in the movie.
Yeah, I didn't take any of that with me. I wish I had.
I think she's a little bit crazier. I think Kathleen's way a little bit.
So well.
I think she's a little bit way more than we thought. Like I think she's like this.
Oh, that was awesome. That was perfect.
Yeah, no, but I tell you what I did take from this film. I had more fun on this film than probably any other film that I've done with these guys. I mean,
you all seem like such a family.
In my heart forever.
You're right. I was lucky enough to spend a couple of days on set and be a mouse in the corner, and you guys got along like family. You just literally enjoyed each other's company, which was very, very cool to see.
And it's a big loss when you lose that kind of family. You have to go through a grief period. Like I knew George in terms of, being a comedian and everything, but I didn't know the warmth and the sensitivity and the caring, and he's great fun, but I want to know what else is going on there, and it really, all of those qualities really lent to his work. So
I'm a little bit dark, but I fell in love with you, and I loved Eddie, and like when I see you right now, I love you. So from coming from the movie and doing that, I've done a lot of movies, but I don't revere the people that I did the movie as much as I hold you in high regard, Kathleen. You're really just a fantastic person and a wonderful actress, and I love you. I feel we all were together, and I think, listen, it's no secret, Eddie, if you were available, Eddie would be in the Santa Monica Mountains. But it's wonderful that we were able to put Mark's last words that he had written and make them come to life. And although he really, unfortunately, didn't look well, the joy that radiated from this guy's face and
Yeah.
his smile and his body when his
Right.
body was shutting down and he was starting to, what he had written was coming to fruition. Like somebody who had suffered loss, I think he ultimately knew that where he was, because some days he'd show up and some days he wouldn't, but when he was there, to have him look at you with that face of his smile and radiating that love that or put his hand on you and watching through the monitor, brilliant.
It's the best. And it's interesting because Ross really made us feel comfortable and free to sort of do what we wanted to do. And so consequently, you don't think about him quite as much because he did what most directors are supposed to do. They're supposed to be kind of invisible. And he kind of, you don't think of him as much of a presence as all of us, but he was there, he helped us do whatever we wanted to do.
I think that style of directing, because you both, it's got to be difficult for a director to slide into that, especially with Mark had a vision but to be in control and yet be invisible and allow you to make your choices acting, I think is the strength of a director, that allow you to do those things.
And boy, was it fun watching you two golf.
What about that? But also, I was telling Bryan that you came out in 30+ degree weather when you didn't have dialogue and you stood there with us. And I'm not sure many actors would do that.
I believe in being a good soldier, and I'm Irish, and that's nothing. You get paid for standing there, how tough can it be? All those little kids were freezing. I couldn't stand that part, though. Yeah.
Well, that brings me to the athletic part, Edward. Your golf swing looks great in the movie. And you had said that you were not an avid golfer. So did it take a little bit of training to get to that point? Because your golf swing looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, look, it looks like I haven't swung a golf club in 35 years. And that's what it was supposed to look like. It was not supposed to look like the guy had been training and it was a really good golfer. So what happened, which I was lucky, they gave me enough time to hit balls. And when you start to really understand, and I'm a baseball player, so I kind of have that eyeball coordination, but it's a lot different. Hitting a ball that is moving is really, really difficult, especially when it's coming at 100 miles an hour and it's doing all kinds of turns and stuff. It's just like really ridiculous. But you get yourself to the point of where you learn how to read the ball and boom, you can hit it. And you see it happening all the time. But to hit a little ball that's not moving, that's on the ground, and control it. Oh my God, it's probably one of the most beautiful sports I've ever tried to be understanding of, because I'd played the game, throughout the years I've done a lot of work with the people that put on golf tournaments, and we do fundraisers, and I go there and I play, and everybody, but we always played scramble. I never had played an entire game, 18 holes, with me hitting the ball and getting it in there and going to every hole and doing myself. I never did that. To this day, I've never really done it. Wow. I played somewhat with George, but I got to tell you, when I started to hit the ball and I started to focus and I started to understand the beauty of, it's like ballet. It's like it's so rhythmic. It's like music. It's like dance. It's beautiful. It's like at one with, wow. And you feel it. You can feel the club. You feel the presence of understanding that, just like, whoa, man. And it's just like, it's beautiful. So I started doing that. I hit thousands of balls. Thousands. Wow. Thousands.
You really did turn into someone that, if they watch the film, you will believe that this person's a golfer. There was a guy that I played with at the AT&T on a Sunday, and he was a roofer who was a good golfer, who went to qualifying school and qualified, and he had a couple of exemptions. One of them was the AT&T. So little did I know that even back in 2004, I was playing with a guy who was so unbelievably overtaken by Pebble Beach as I wouldn't say not a professional golfer would, but by anyone who was able to play there as a golfer, much less as a guy who had qualified, but his eyes were wide open, and we're walking on this Sunday, and he just can't believe it. And little did I know that in 2004, I was really kind of playing with the guy that would have become, Joe Mambliamo later on. And he hit thousands of balls. And then tell everybody, Eddie, when Kathleen hit a golf ball, how well she hit it on once.
On camera. On camera. I got to tell you, that was the beauty of what you talk about, having faith, and you had to talk about being touched by the hand of God. Kathleen, we had a scene to do. And the scene was that I put the ball down, and she would start off by swinging the club, hitting the ball, and watching go. And she's athletic, very athletic, and I don't know if she's swung the golf club. She's been golfing. She knew how to golf, but I don't know how long it had been. How long had it been since you swung a club and hit the ball? Can you
Probably 10 years.
Oh,
10 years.
Yeah.
And the very first shot, the very first take, the very first moment, she stands there and we're laughing, and it's just beautiful, beautiful feeling between us. And I mean, everything just feels so real, so honest, so pure. And she just stands up and goes, oh, boy, whack, whoa, straight out, man, a beautifully hit ball. And we looked at each other and started laughing. She ran into my arms and we hugged each other, and it was all facts, man. That was
the one time I really did pray before I
There you go.
please God, don't let me F up in front of these guys. I want to hit this ball.
It's hard. It's hard to do, man. If you've never played the game, and don't take it so lightly when you see it being played, and you see these guys doing what they do with the little ball and how they control it. It's
easy.
Unbelievably difficult.
Yeah.
It's one of the most difficult games in the world, I think.
I think it's quite a world, man, that brought us all together. My journey with Edward of seeing him. I saw him in Zoot Suit in high school, and I'd never seen first of all, I'd never seen a play, but then to see that play and to see that guy, that Pachuco, was just eye-opening, man, for a young Chicano kid. And following you, kind of seeing you and seeing in your films, and to end up all together and to end up like this. It's been a year and a half since we did it, and if you look at us, it would look like we've been together since then. But walking with her is I think people will understand it. I don't think there's been a time that we need a movie like this more than this past year.
Yeah.
Especially with so much division within this country, that if there's one thing that would bond us, it would be our faith.
Yeah. I totally
hope
agree.
so.
Yeah.
You would hope so.
I hope so. I mean, I'm not a religious person. I think it's all very interesting, all the stories and the fables of the different religions. But I just go, so one person calls it Buddha, so one person calls it Yahweh, one person calls it whatever. What difference does it make? And people are different colors. So what? I mean, if you believe in God, you think he made a mistake? I mean,
Well,
I don't
True.
get it.
yeah.
Well, I think he might have made one mistake. Bryan, show that nose again.
He's overcommitted on this one a little bit. That's it. Outside of that, we're all right.
Well, thank you guys for spending this time with us right here. Bryan,
It
oh
was
my God, Ed.
Brian,
Oh my God.
oh my God.
It
I
was
got
a
nervous
pleasure.
when I met you.
And thanks for hanging out with us backstage in Portland. That was very nice as well. And Edward, what a pleasure. What a pleasure to have you on. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, Brian, please. Thank you.
I love you both.
Love you
too,
guys.
man. Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.
Go yes.
All right, guys.
Adios.
Thank you, Kathleen. All right, Eddie.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.